Welcome to the SWADE Pro Show podcast. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guest are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization that they represent. The content is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. Listener discretion is advised.
How you been?
I'm okay. How
Amy
you been?
is back. She made the trip from Little Rock to here. Was it bad?
It was not bad. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
People
here.
say that. I guess I'm just used to it.
No, it's absolutely amazing. I've never been to Hot Springs Village, and just to come into this area, I'm like, am I still in Arkansas? This is wonderful. So I may never leave.
I had Michelle on here a couple weeks ago, and when she goes, I've never driven down 5 before.
Yeah.
That drive is amazing.
Amazing.
I was like, no, it drives horrible.
Oh, but I think once you got into Hot Springs Village, that's what was amazing.
You ought to see it in the fall.
Oh, gorgeous. Okay, well, I'm going to be like lurking around.
Yeah.
Like Amy's looking through the window again.
No, I got something for you. This is something new.
Oh, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will so use that.
Awesome.
I love it's a good size too.
It's 16 ounce, I think.
Oh, that is awesome. Thank you. I will take that to my office. I use that every day. I'm gonna stick it right there where
So
everybody see it.
I ended up getting like 21 of those. One of them was broken, so I'm going to start giving them out. You know, if the next time you're on show, you're going to get another one. So just know that
they're nice because they're all like this.
Right.
You know, they're engraved.
Right.
Wow, that's really nice.
Laser etched or something. I don't know.
That's awesome. Well, good deal. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for making a trip. We'll get
I
going.
love the studio.
I think you guys wondered about that. Yeah. Welcome to the corner. That's what I call it.
And I love that we can see the SWADE Pro Show and everything.
Right.
See everything better. So, all right.
It's a little bit different than the first time we were in that little room.
It's a little different, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We've come a long way in a year or so, haven't we?
We have.
We got these little friends over here. Y'all be quiet now. Don't be trying to help. Okay.
Don't need any help. Amy Jones, who, if you've watched any of this or heard any of this, you've already heard her before. Who many refer to her as Arkansas Amy. So if you know her at all, it's Arkansas Amy. Amy has a Bachelor of Science degree in U.S. History, Arkansas History, and Southern History from the University of Central Arkansas, UCA Go Bears.
Yes, that's right.
Amy has worked on several aspects of Arkansas history in the past, where she has she's not only taught, presented, and gave historical tours. You can take a tour, I'll mess this up. You can take a haunted Arkansas tour with her by finding her on the Haunted Arkansas Tours website, www.hauntedarkansastours.com, and that's plural. You can also email her directly at arkansasamy@outlook.com, all obviously one word, or find her on Facebook at Arkansas Amy, all one word again. She loves to talk about Arkansas, so go ahead and ask her a question, and what she doesn't know, she will research it for you. So today's episode, I really don't know too much about, which I like. I kind of like that, so that way I kind of have the reaction that someone who knows nothing about it would react.
Yes.
Kind of an honest reaction.
Yes.
So what exactly are we getting into?
Well, I am, an Arkansas researcher, and I am a professional historian, and so I have researched different things, and I'm going to use my notes when I need to. We're going to call this Arkansas Folklore, Legends, and Ghost Stories.
Sounds good.
Now, you and I know what that means, but there's a lot of people that will be listening like, what's a folklore, or what's the difference between a folklore and a legend?
Right.
So we're going to explain a little of that, okay? A folklore is the traditional beliefs, customs, and stories of a community passed through the generated word of mouth, or what we used to call oral history, okay? Oral history, surprising to a lot of people, was really all we had till only about 150 years ago. Oral history was pretty much it. Even if you had a book, you didn't know how to read a book, So you had to listen to the stories around the dining room table. You had to listen to the stories around the campfire. And that's how people learned their history. So a legend is a little different. A legend is a traditional story, sometimes popularized, regarding a historical figure, but it is usually unauthorized. So like the legend of King Arthur. Okay. Again, that's a legend. Nobody was there. Anybody that was there is dead now. So it is a story.
There's no defending it or supporting it now.
That's right. And again, that's another example of how legend can be pumped up into bigger than it really was. you know, because you tell the story over and over. It's like the old telephone game. Right. You tell 3 people and, they've added something every time, you know.
Yeah,
so that's a legend. And a ghost story is pretty self-explanatory, but a ghost story is a narrative, often a tale meant to be chilling or suspenseful, that features ghostly visitations, and it's typically associated with horror. Sorry, guys. Ghost stories also have several they can also tell us a story, teach a lesson, or a lot of times be really funny. So there's all kinds of different.
Yeah. Watch horror movies, any of those up there.
Yeah.
If you run, don't trip. You never trip.
No.
And never in the woods. You never check out the noise. You just go the other direction and call the police.
And if your friend gets killed, my gosh, go home. Don't be hanging out going, well, I'm sorry that happened.
What's in that dark corner? I need to go investigate.
I know. We've all screamed at the screen. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Hey, you. If you're enjoying this, why not give us a like and consider following us wherever you get your podcast? Sharing is caring, and we would love your feedback, so drop us a line. Now, back to the SWADE Pro Show.
I can remember watching, I'm getting off subject a little bit, but I can remember watching Friday the 13th when I was in high school in the 80s. Well, nobody knew what a cell phone was. Nobody knew, Right. And so if you think about the Friday 13th movies, if they would have had a cell phone, everything would be fine. Right. They could have called somebody, but they didn't. They just ran and screamed. So anyway, that's just, so since we're going to focus on Arkansas, let's do a few quick Arkansas facts, okay?
Awesome.
Let's talk about Arkansas first. I do pride myself. I love Arkansas and everything about it. I do love my name, Arkansas Amy. I had someone call me that when I was giving like a historical lecture, which my daughter says, Mom, every time you talk, it sounds like a historical lecture. I don't mean that. I try to do more personal. No, she doesn't. She's like, your podcast got to be a little more bubbly. I'm like, I'm working on it.
Well, here's the deal. It's education. I mean, she's getting a free education. You had to pay for that.
It's education. It is. And so let me get one drink here.
You're good. And I wouldn't pour it in there because I ain't cleaned the cup. I just got it out of the box.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Clean it first.
No. See my new cup. Hello. And then, get yours now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I love it, though.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about Arkansas. Arkansas first became a state on June 15th, 1836. I say that like everybody knows it, but if you didn't know, it's June 15th, 1836. Right. So if June 15th rolls around, you want to have a birthday party. It's called Arkansas Birthday Party.
Yeah.
I do it. But I hope I'm not the only one in the state that does it. So we became a state in 1836. We were a territory, though, in 1819. Arkansas became the first frontier of the United States.
Okay.
So if you think about it, the United States stopped down in Hope and Texarkana as you were going into Texas. Okay. Texas was not part of the United States. Right. So we were the first frontier. Like if you were going to go out towards California, which people really didn't do at that time, if you were going to go that far, you went through Arkansas. Okay.
So I guess from where, I'm thinking of New York and all that. You wouldn't go south to go to the west. Well,
you come from New York, you go all the way down. You're coming through Missouri. People say St. Louis, the gateway to the west. Well, that was Arkansas was too. If you imagine, we're all right here in this, going through Oklahoma that way. So
that's why the planes always fly different directions, because people back then didn't know what they were doing either.
No, just kind of goes, and how people got off a boat in New York City and ended up in the Ozarks from Ireland, I don't know, but they did.
That's awesome.
And a lot of people from Irish and Scottish descent ended up in the Ozarks and in Tennessee. So they just went as far as they could go. Basically, it's like, okay, we got this much money, we're going to just walk till we don't have any money.
Yeah, but they stopped at a good place. I mean,
they did.
I just got back not too long ago from the Smoky Mountains. I was able to go. Me and Brandy.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's like, I loved Arkansas Mountains, but then I went there, I'm like, Rrr.
Oh, I know. Oh, I drove through there before, and except for everything says, watch out for bears. Those Smoky Mountains,
We saw Brady videoed 2 cubs playing, and I videoed the mom, and the cubs were behind her at a separate place.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
The cubs were hidden behind some bush, so I didn't really get it good, so I just stayed on the mom with the phone.
Yeah, right there in the park, though, the bears. Right. There's bears. Yeah. So, anyway, hopefully somebody's listening to that who doesn't have bears in the backyard and thinks that's pretty cool, because
you don't feed them.
You don't feed them, no. Actually, in Park Hill in North Little Rock, we have a bluff that overlooks the highway, and the bluff has caves. And so every so often, somebody will pick up a bear walking down the street in Park Hill on the Ring camera.
Wow.
Here's a bear. It happens about 3 times a year. Yeah. So, anyway, Arkansas black bears are very common.
They are.
And in Tennessee also. Okay, so back to our name. So here's what happened. The French explorers came down from Canada way, and they talked to the Ohio Valley Native Americans. And they said, this is the mouth of the Mississippi. Okay, they discovered the mouth of Mississippi, and they wanted to follow this river vein all the way to Mexico. The French explorers did. Okay. So they talked to the Native Americans of Ohio River Valley, and they said, well, who's down the way? And they said, well, there's people down the way that we call the people of the South Wind. Well, we know the people of the South Wind as the Quapaws.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what they are.
It sounded familiar, but I wasn't for sure.
Yes, but the Native Americans of the Ohio Valley called them people of the South Wind. So here come the French, and they come down, and they discover another river, which we now call the Arkansas River. Mm-hmm. So they're coming down that river. They get to a place we now call it the Arkansas Post, but what it was, we're going to have to do a story about that, too. Arkansas Post is amazing. Yeah. But it was a Quapaw trading post, is what it was. Right. And so here come the French explorers, and they see them. They're like, oh, those are the people of the South Wind. And the Quapaws are looking at them like, who are you? and okay, so as they traveled down the river, and they would stop at this trading post, they engaged with the Quapaw, but did not call them the Quapaw. So the word Arkansas actually comes from a French variation on the people of the South Wind. Okay, Arkansas kind of comes from that. Arkansas kind of spelled with a W at the end, like we used to. Right. Or somebody did. So anyway, so the French explorers traveled so much through Arkansas. If you could look around Arkansas, even in North Little Rock and even in Little Rock, we got La Harpe's Avenue. We've got Maumelle, which is a French word. Right. Because all of them came down the Arkansas River. So the French were here. And so I always said, if it wasn't for the Louisiana Purchase, we'd all still be speaking French. Right. Right. So early Arkansas documentation is in French. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it really is. And so, because that's when we were a territory instead we were a state. So anyway, then the variation of this word, they kind of went back and forth, and they called it Arkansas, but they also called it Ozark. But they spelled it in French. They didn't call it Ozark. They called it Oz, O-Z. Really? But the spelling in French was A-U-X, and that means the heart of Arkansas. Is what's the French meant for that to mean, the heart of Arkansas. So fast forward a little bit to the American Revolution, because this was in the late 1600s when this first happened. So you get to the end of the 1700s, and we're going before the American Revolution. The Arkansas Post is the farthest the British Army ever traveled into the United States. And they did get to Arkansas Post. They knew it was a trading post. They knew there was a lot of people there. They never ventured any farther into the United States, though.
They stopped there.
They stopped there.
That is east of us, southeast, right? No. It's
kind of
east of
Pine Bluff area, kind of down that way.
Right,
yeah.
DeWitt and Stuttgart and all that.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you remember, the American Revolution was about the colonies. Right. And the colonies were all over North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, all that. So the British came in that way, and the wars were fought mostly over there. So to come this far inland to the Arkansas Post, that is historically the farthest they came. Well, when they came, they heard that, and they didn't want to call it the French word, so they did shorten it to Arkansas, and they put a W on it. That was the British spelling, Arkansas. And this Oz, the heart of Arkansas, they changed that to Ozark, O-Z, and then A-R-K-S. And so For many, many years, Arkansas and Ozark were used interchangeably, like they were the same place. Until a map, until right in the middle of the 1800s, a map drawer, what do you call a map? A map designer, a map... somebody mapping the territory. Yes. He was mapping the area, and he got up into like the Ouachita Mountains and that area.
Which is where we are.
Yes. And he's the first person that used the word Ozark for that area. Okay. So nobody really knows. There's not a real clear boundary of what is the Ozarks, but we have Ozarks in Arkansas, Missouri, and some in Oklahoma.
Right. So
there's different legends and different things that go with the different Missouri or Arkansas Ozarks.
Yeah.
But he's the first person that put that on a map and distinguished Arkansas from Ozarks.
So there is a line, I forget what it is or something, that separates the Ouachitas from the Ozarks in Arkansas.
Yes.
I forget what it's called. There's something.
But I think the Ozarks may go on into Missouri, the Ouachita Mountains. Yeah,
I'm not for sure.
I'm not sure. And he also is the one who labeled it the Ouachita. Is what people called it, but it didn't have a real name, and he also gave it the official name on this particular map.
That's neat.
Yeah, so all that came around. And again, you can look up a lot of that and, get a little more information from that, but it was pretty, it's people say, oh, it's a French name or it's an Indian name. It's not really, because the British came in and the French didn't pronounce it Arkansas, but the British did. And so we do.
I see that. So they kind of, that probably makes a lot of sense to me so you have like the Quapaw say one way, the French say one way, and then the British I'm going to take all that and do it my way.
Exactly,
right?
Because that's what they did when they came for the American Revolution.
Right.
This was a few years before the American Revolution, and the story goes that there wasn't a whole lot of when the fighting actually started and all the people rose up against the crown. It was very easy to push them out of Arkansas and even Tennessee and back towards the colonies because they didn't want to come out here to the wilderness.
That's what I was
There
thinking.
was no maps. There was no towns. There was no. So they wanted to stay in Boston, and they wanted to stay where there was legit things they could conquer and money they could take.
Right. This is where the backyard was their advantage.
Yeah, and they didn't have any. There was nobody back here that they needed the money from.
Right.
So a lot of the revolution, and of course we don't get into that, but a lot of it was, of course, over money. Everything's over money.
Everything.
But it was over the cotton that they wanted from like North Carolina, South Carolina, and a lot of times also before, when there were colonies, they were making linen and they were making ships sails for the British Army or for the British Navy, okay? So the king didn't want to give that up either. So when all of them rose up against the king, they were like, oh no, we're going to squash you down. And it really, the American Revolution is something I only studied the last few years, but it is so fascinating how it really came about and how bloody and deadly it really was.
Yeah.
They were like, you're either going to stay with the king or we're just going to totally annihilate you completely, And so anyway, but Arkansas wasn't much to see or be had at that time. So they kind of didn't mess with Arkansas a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of still that way too, if you think about it. There's still a lot, like if you take 40 and go west, and I say Arkansas is Arkansas as soon as you leave the Razorback Tunnel.
Yeah.
I call it.
Yes.
There's just mountains of beauty out there.
Gorgeous.
It's just like
the Boston Mountains, and that's what's up there, right? By U of A, is that the Boston Mountains? Yeah.
Right, but it's 30-something miles once you leave the tunnel to Fayetteville with like hardly anything. Just mountains. I'm like, I could throw a rock and live anywhere.
And they're gorgeous. And that's what, Arkansas gets a bad rap a lot of times, and but if you look outside Central Arkansas, you see just beauty. Just absolutely beauty. And people are not living on top of each other. No. People have land and people have fields, and there's the farmers, and I mean, there's just all kinds of things. And even here where you're at, there's a lot more open area.
I've always said that, Arkansas has kind of got everything except, the ocean. It's got, in the south, it's got the flatlands and the oil fields and all that stuff. Yep. And then if you go up east, you got the Delta. Mm-hmm. And then if you go up central, where I am, especially the mountains start, we're at the foothills. Mm-hmm. And then as you keep going northwest, it's just more mountains. Yes. Northeast is got some hills, but not mountains.
Well, and don't forget, we have diamond mines.
That's what I'm saying. That's
we
up
have
there,
gold mines. We have silver mines. We have all kinds of minerals. Right, yes. Right. So
I mean, it's Arkansas. If you don't like something here, then you're just too picky.
Yes. The only thing we don't have is the ocean. We are landlocked, but that's okay too. It's not that far away. Right. And then we don't have a lot of hurricanes. So
right.
Yeah. So
that comes with the ocean as the hurricanes.
Yeah, they do. And yes, I've heard people say before about Arkansas, if you just put a big old fence around Arkansas, we would be self-sustaining.
Honestly, I've heard that too. I've heard that too.
Mm-hmm. We could make anything we need to make right here in Arkansas.
This is some of the best deer hunting I know of. I've heard people from Louisiana and Missouri come down, especially for duck hunting. Duck hunting especially.
Duck hunting and deer hunting and
elk now.
And elk now, yes. I was going to say elk. I've heard a lot of elk and fishing on the White River. Right. Fishing and even in our river. I mean, the streams, everything. And there's just anything you could want. And so, I mean, I've thought before, even being Arkansas Amy and loving Arkansas and Arkansas history before, I've thought, well, maybe I need to move to here or to there. But I thought I don't know if I'd miss the people. I'd miss the place.
I don't know. See, that's what I was telling Brandy. I was like, when we went to Tennessee, I was like, the difference between the Arkansas mountains and the Tennessee mountains, from my perspective, is the Arkansas are more smooth. Yeah. They're like mounds. Yeah. They're still mountains. Tennessee's got the jagged, what you'd expect in Colorado.
Yes. And Arkansas mountains are easier to climb. Arkansas mountains are easier to spend the day at and go home on, Right. And so we do have a lot of that too. My daughter does a lot of kayaking in Arkansas. Right. She loves that. And kayaking is such a big sport. Water sports are so big in Arkansas.
They are. They're extremely
very big. And we have a lot of man-made lakes, but we have natural lakes too. Right. So
I think I've got Lake Ouachita by me. Mm-hmm. Then in Hot Springs, which feeds the lake in Hot Springs, which I can't think of right now. Hot Springs is a lake. Goodness, I feel horrible. I can't think of that. But anyway, then that feeds Lake Catherine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I live in Central Arkansas, and we have the Big Dam Bridge, and we have Three Rivers Park, and that island in that area over there that used to be the prison farm, but now it's park or it's walking trails, and people do boating around it and that kind of thing, and absolutely love it. I've gone walking many times on those trails, and it goes right through the woods, and you see wild turkey, see deers, you see all kinds of things. But anyway, that's just not something you can see when you just get out of your car and walk half a block and you're in the middle of the woods and you see all this wildlife. Mm-hmm. That's not things other states have. So anyway.
Is it Lake Hamilton that's in Hot Springs?
Yes, that's Lake Hamilton.
I can't believe I forgot that.
That's right. So yes. Well, okay. Let's go back to Ozarks for a minute. It says I can't dive too big into Ozarks because it is a big subject, and maybe at some point we'll dive into it more. But let's start with a legend from the Ozarks. Okay. Now this legend, I've realized, has several different names, so we're going to go with this name: the legend of the Ozark Holler, Howler, or the Arkansas Black Holler, whichever you want to do. And if you Google it online, you see a picture of like a wolf-looking creature that stands up on its hind legs, but it has 4 legs and it looks like a wolf creature.
I thought you were about to talk about the legend of Boggy Creek for some reason. I was
that's another one. I looked into that one too, but this one I thought the graphic was better.
I don't know nothing about this, so this is gonna be awesome.
It's about the same thing. I mean, they're all kind of they run together. This legend's been passed down through generations of locals who hear things and they can't describe it. So one thing about the Ozarks, let's go back up to the people. They are still remote, but they were very remote, not even 50 years ago, definitely 100 years ago. Okay. So if you're out and you're in the holler and you're in your land and you can't see your neighbor because they're more than a mile away from you. Okay. You're outside, it's dark, you hear something. You don't know what you heard, but boy, when your friend asks you, you say, oh, I saw this. And so it was so funny, this particular legend, because it says some people described it like a wolf creatures and others said they saw things they just couldn't describe. So a legend and a tall tale can be the same thing.
Right.
And so it was funny how there was, one person said, oh, he had red eyes and he was 9 feet tall. And the other person said, oh, no, I think he didn't get on his hind legs. He was on his all fours, but, he made this horrible sound. And so you can imagine the sounds that come out of the woods. It could have been anything. Right. And we'll talk about other things that may have could have been. But this is not just the type of legend that is from the Ozarks. These kind of legends are passed on all through anybody that lives remotely. Like Texas has them, Tennessee has them.
I'm sure.
Because it was this was their entertainment. Right.
The campfire stories.
Well, what's been going on at your house? Oh, let me tell you. I almost died the other day, saved the whole family from this beast. Right. What did the beast look like? Well, I don't remember.
Remember. So,
but it was horrible. Some say he was about the size of a bear with a thick body and stocky legs and black shaggy hair and had prominent horns. And then other people said, must have come from the devil himself. Right. So you can imagine if this how the story goes around and they go, oh, did you hear what happened over there at their house and what this? So, but between 2005 and 2010, supposedly, that's not too long ago, several families that were living there in this Ozark area would describe seeing this. They also called it a devil cat. So either a what I call it, a black collar or a devil cat. They called it several different things because they said that sometimes it roared like a cat. Well, if you live anywhere in the mountains, you're going to have some cats. You're going to have some, you're going to, in the Boston Mountains, especially by Van Buren, that kind of thing, you're going to see a cougar. You're going to hear. So again, these are sounds that came out of the woods and made the story bigger and bigger and bigger. Right. So, but there's really no, this particular legend, there's really no, he carried my wife off and killed her. There's nobody who died from it. It's just I saw this. I saw this and I told it. So it kind of leans to they didn't have TV. You know what I mean? We're just making our own little entertainment.
Was alcohol a factor?
Yeah, there was an alcohol and a fire involved. Yes. And so the problem is that the wildlife around in Arkansas, there is a lot of cougars. There's a lot of panthers. There's a lot of bears. And so you kind of have to know, know what you hear and what you see. I mean, I live in North Little Rock, Arkansas, middle of central Arkansas, and we have coyotes that will come and get your small pets out of the backyard.
We have there too.
Yeah, coyotes are bad. I mean, they're just everywhere. You see them all the time. And that's not 200 years ago or 100 years ago. Right. And so I can't imagine if you didn't have a phone, you're out remotely, you haven't seen anybody because you went and got your groceries at the first of the month in town, you hadn't seen anybody, and you hear these noises. So that would be very terrifying. So
I can remember several mornings of being up, in the woods, deer hunting. You're out there way before the sun comes up, and you hear some god awful noise. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to take my safety off because if it bites me, I'm shooting it. I may shoot my leg off, but it's going.
Really, and I mean,
it's scary.
It's scary, and those kind of things are frequently. I mean, there is people that see that. I mean, there was a man attacked by a bear here in Arkansas. Just 2 weeks ago, and he died. Right. And he was on a tractor. Right. I mean, so that means that he either had to get off the tractor, or the bear had to get him off the tractor, or something happened. But that's this is 2025, and we've got a bear attack. And somebody died.
It's scary because you don't want to turn a light on and see it's like if I'm scared to death now thinking about sitting. I never had a deer stand. I always hunt on the ground.
Oh yeah.
So I'd be out there on the ground just scared to death. Do I turn the light on and see what I'm scared of, or do I just keep imagining it? Which one's worse?
Or you got to get a stand. Yeah.
Man, I was always afraid I'd fall out of them.
Yes, that's true too. And then people get up there, but Yeah, there's stories even today of people's pets disappearing and that kind of thing.
Right.
So, that again is a unique thing. A lot of times in Arkansas, a lot of people, the open plains of Texas, you can see things coming a lot quicker.
Right,
Anyway, so the Ozark Holler, look that up. You can see pictures. You can see more about it. Now we're going to skip a little bit and we're going to talk about the Arkansas Razorbacks, because let's do it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So the Arkansas Razorbacks, everybody knows is the Hogs.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so, but have you ever thought, have we always been the Hogs? Have you ever thought
we've been the
it?
bear.
No.
I thought we were a bear.
Nope.
No, it was a bird, wasn't it?
Cardinal.
Right.
Cardinal, yes. Hey, look at you, being so smart.
I don't know something.
Most people would be like, I don't know. They told me it's a hog. I bought this shirt. No,
it was a cardinal, but I thought we were a bear for a while. Where did I get that from?
I don't think so. I think another one of the state schools may have been a bear at some point.
Maybe.
But the bear is Arkansas. Black bear is a thing.
Right.
Here's the story. Okay. Before the Arkansas University was named the Razorbacks, it was named the Cardinals. And so when it first started in 1894, when the U of A football team first started, they were the Cardinals because it was cardinal red. Was their color. Right. Okay. So they were that. And an interesting story is the high school in Texarkana was the Razorbacks.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And they still are.
They still are.
Right.
And so they were the Razorbacks before U of A was the Razorbacks.
Right.
So in 1909, the Arkansas football coach, his name was Hugo Bezdek. There you go. Hugo. Coach Hugo. Okay.
Yeah, Coach Hugo.
He gave a speech to the students that would start the change of the mascot. He addressed a large amount of students in Fayetteville in a train station after returning from a 16-0 victory over Louisiana State. Woo-woo.
LSU.
Yeah. On October 30th, 1909. He informed the crowd that his team had performed like a wild band of Razorback hogs.
There we go.
The Razorback, which was characterized by a rigid back and a terrible disposition, and the fighting ability was then associated with Arkansas. The students loved the comparison of the nicknames, and it increased in popularity. So in 1910, the student body voted to officially change the name from the Cardinals to the Razorbacks. So isn't that cool?
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. So since 1910, we've been the Razorbacks.
I always thought of St. Louis Cardinals. That's a baseball team. I'd hate to know. I hate to say it, but Arkansas Cardinals playing the Louisiana State Tigers is just
exactly. And I threw this in because my assistant at work, she said something to me about she's young, bless her heart. She's only 24, but she's amazing. But we had just had the Arkansas game against the Arkansas. Who'd Arkansas just play?
Arkansas State.
They played Arkansas State, in Little Rock, the Little Rock game. And she said, I saw coming down University, I saw this cage, and it had a hog in it.
Right.
And I was like, well, yeah. I said, we got a live hog.
Right, we do.
And I said, it goes to all the home games.
Right.
And she said, I never knew that. Well, maybe somebody else out there doesn't know it. But here's the live mascot tradition, dates back to 1960s.
Okay.
As a number of hogs represented the Arkansas, several of them have represented Arkansas through the years. Tusk number 4, a 500-pound Russian boar that closely resembles a wild Razorback hog, is the current official live mascot. He resides at a local farm and leaves his home only to attend Arkansas home games. Yeah. So there you go. So you didn't know, you do now.
That was always what I was really, honestly, now that I think about it, that's what I was scared of most in the woods. Mm-hmm. You've seen, the hogs and a pack of wild boars show up, man. I've heard horror stories of people that chase them up in a tree.
Yep.
And they'll shoot them with their 9mm or something, and it doesn't even slow them down.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because it leads us right into what we're going to talk about. Is what are these hogs? What are these Razorbacks? What does a hog symbolize? Because, we all our kids grew up with, there's a hog right there, the little red hog. And so you might think, oh, he's so cute. No, he's not cute. Nothing cute about it. So there's a legend about the Razor. There's a lot of legends about the Razorbacks. But, and we're going to talk about different ones, but here's just some tall tales about Razorbacks. There was a fellow who swore he had a pack. This is somebody from the Ozarks. He had a pack of hogs, and somebody said, "Your hogs are so fierce," and he said, "My hogs are so skinny, you had to put two of them together and make a shadow." So that's an Ozark saying. Also, there's a man who claimed that he had lost his. These are back from like the 1920s, 1930s. A fellow also claimed that his razor was so dull that he was not able to shave for a week. So he noticed that a pack of hogs was coming down the trail. The pack of hogs had a backbone shaped like a razor. He picked it up, shaved his face, best shave he ever had in his life.
Oh my goodness.
Now see, this is how tall tales. So imagine someone standing in a barber shop on a main street going, "Guess what I did?"
Right.
So those are how tall tales and legends get started.
Right, and people from up north like Boston doesn't know any better.
Doesn't know any better. They'd be
just go walk up to her.
You really did that? You really did that? He did touch no razorback.
Right.
So here's how the hogs got to Arkansas, the first place. DeSoto the Explorer. DeSoto's first name starts with a H.
Is it Hernandez?
Hernandez DeSoto. Yes, the Spanish explorer that came through Arkansas. He came in 1839. Now, he brought 30 pigs with him. Okay, 30 of them. He let them go. And they multiplied and multiplied. So, and as they were set free throughout Arkansas, and they became feral, and so here's what people used to do before you go to the store and buy ham. Okay, people in the Ozarks, especially people in rural areas of Arkansas, you would have pigs that ran through the woods. In these herd of pigs that would run through the woods. You wouldn't necessarily feed them because you were just trying to feed your family. You didn't have money to set up a hog pen and feed the hogs, get them big enough for whatever. So they would let them run through the woods, and they would let them, but then it came time in the fall, and they would then dig like a ditch, almost like a pit, and they would put something in there to entice the pigs. Well, they would also call, "Sue, pig, suey."
Right.
And here they came. And as the pigs got down into the pit, they couldn't get out. Yeah. And then that was what they called, that was a signal that it was hog killing time. And hog killing time was a event that all community would be involved in.
That makes no sense with the way we do our call for football games and all that.
But that's where it came from. Sue, pig, suey.
I know, but it's like we do that. But it's like the other team should be doing that to us. Exactly.
It was a call to the killing field is really what it was. And but whole communities got together for killing time. And it might take a week, but somebody'd kill them, somebody'd butcher them, somebody'd cut them up, everybody'd get enough. And feral hogs are not what we're used to eating at all.
I imagine.
The meat's not as good.
Right.
It's
I imagine it's probably more tough.
It's more tough. It's not good like we think, but it's food.
Right.
And it's food they let them run through the woods. A lot of hogs will root around and eat things that they find. They dig up. They'll eat acorns. They eat acorns anything. A lot. They'll eat anything. And you didn't have to give your family's food to them.
Right.
But you could get food. So hog killing time was a big tradition and may still be in the Ozarks, but it was the communities of the Ozarks. Yes, your neighbor may have been a mile away, but there were community times that they came together. A lot of times if somebody had a crop to be harvested, the whole community would come and help each other. You've heard of...
It takes a village.
Yeah, and you've heard of putting up a barn. Somebody had a barn fire, then the whole family. And that is stuff we don't do these days.
No.
And you might only see your neighbors at church, or you may only see them at special ceremonies. You may only see them at funerals. But they were so small and they were so close-knit that everybody helped everybody.
That's kind of how this neighborhood is, and I hate that everybody's moving now, but that's how it was when we first moved here. I mean, they had a Halloween get-together, all these old people, and I don't mean any disrespect by saying that, but they would get together at different houses. And now... I mean, they've gotten older and they've got to move back. They got to have help and everything. But they would always. There was like an email chain for the neighborhood. There was all kinds of stuff. They kept in touch. When we went to Tennessee, my neighbor right over there, he didn't want to move to Nashville, but his daughter thought it was best, and ultimately it is better. He needs a little bit of assistance. So when he moved up there, when we went to Nashville, I was going to say, hey.
Oh.
I was going to say the street name, say, rescue's here to get you. You ready to go?
Oh, we're going
But I forgot to call him, and I told his daughter that a while ago because she's over there, and she goes, you should have done that. I said, I'm so sorry, I forgot.
Oh, goodness. Well, the Sea community just doesn't do stuff like that anymore. They really don't.
This is a real special road.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, and well, a lot of rural places in Arkansas are like that too. That is not something you find very much in North Little Rock. I happen to live.
They would go to each other's house like certain nights of the week and drink wine and everything on Tuesdays.
Yeah. Downtown Little Rock. Let me tell you. Let me put my downtown Little Rock history hat on for a minute. But the first settlers, the first white settlers came to the shores there in 1821, and it was a wilderness, but the Quapaw was there and a lot of different tribes, and they pushed them back away from the Arkansas River and built what we now know as downtown Little Rock.
Right.
Okay. But however, they're log cabins and they're out in the woods, and it was very common that one house would cook on Tuesdays and everybody ate there, and one house would cook on the next day.
I like that.
And so there was a lot of that. And especially if you were a single person, get me off into my Little Rock history, but William Woodruff is the man who started the Arkansas Gazette, and he actually started it at the Arkansas Post, but then when the seat of government, the territory capital, moved to Little Rock, he moved the press and everything up the river and came to Little Rock. Well, so William Woodruff started the Arkansas Gazette. Well, he was a single man at the time, and so every night he had a different house that he went to eat at.
Okay.
Because single men, it wasn't like you went home and heated something in the microwave.
I kind of like that. It's everybody helping.
It was very much.
I like that. I like
very
that.
Much.
It's not just well, you're on your own. You got to figure out like we did. It's like you got to help. And each one reach back and help another one.
Exactly. And there wasn't a whole lot of. He started the first lending library in Arkansas. He printed some books and taught people how to read. They didn't know how to read. He set up payments where they could pay for the Arkansas Gazette on time and that kind of thing. It was absolutely an environment of we're going to help you too. Good. But of course, there was also there was a way to make money in downtown Little Rock was how many wolves could you kill? Imagine that.
Yeah, I think we talked about that before, to where you could bring a pelt. And then they didn't take them; they just took your word for it. Then you could bring the same pelt, to be like, keep getting paid,
and keep getting paid.
Right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, they didn't want the pelts. They just wanted they just wanted to know how many, because the wolves in downtown Little Rock. You go down to like Clinton Avenue now. You go down to Main Street, Broadway, and close your eyes and picture the log cabins and the wolf packs that were destroying.
I imagine those things were ruthless.
Oh yeah,
because they don't hunt with one; they hunt with multiple.
Oh yeah, and I do a lot of research there on the river, and plus that's where I work, and I'm right there. When Native Americans lived there, they live a different lifestyle than we did, and they wanted to live and let live.
Right.
Well, when Europeans came to settle Little Rock, they were like, oh no, the wolves got to go. Yeah, we don't need to just chase them away. We need to kill them all, And they pushed the Quapaw back, of course, way back even by the fairgrounds. So, anyway, don't get me started. I'll get off track. Okay, now so that's how the hogs got here. That's how the pigs got to Arkansas. A hog has a snout. It does have a lot of muscles on its back. It does. Some of them that get more feral than others have the tough, prickly fur, and the razorback spine. Not all of them have that or feral, but many of them do.
Right.
And like I said, this is a Russian boar that represents the team right now. The pigs are very social, so they want to stay in their little group. So if one of them gets caught in the hog pen, they're going to all get caught there. And so they're kind of like, this is my family. I'm going to stay with them. So that's how they ran around in packs in the woods. So there was a lot of the feral pigs still remain a lot in Arkansas, like you were saying, deer hunting. You hear them because they're still out there.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, we've already talked about how Arkansas has a lot of deer and turkey and all of that kind of thing. So, I just really think it's fascinating, the killing thing in the Sioux Pig Suey, about how, we all think we discovered something. We didn't discover that. It's there.
I'm sure it came from somewhere.
It came from it all comes from, I always want to try to educate people what you do every single day. Think about the things you do every day, and then just pick one or two of them and think, why do I do this? Why is that called that? Who called that first?
Right, it come from somewhere. Right.
Where did it come from? And it's very interesting. It's kind of like your own Trivia Pursuit kind of thing. So anyway, but now we're going to talk about some ghost stories, because that seems to be the biggest thing. Let's see. I have some other stuff about the pigs, but the pigs are the pigs. So we kind of talked about them. But before we get to the ghost stories, I want to do one more legend that's really big in Arkansas that I don't want to neglect. Okay, here's a legend. This is an example of a legend and a tall tale. So, July 15th, 1874, Jesse James was a notable activity in Arkansas. He had a stage coach robbery right near Hot Springs on January 15th, 1874. He and his gang were reportedly seen in Arkadelphia robbing a store in Bentonville, and may have used the Northwest Caves as hideouts. Local folklore or legend from communities like different communities in Clark County also placed Jesse James in the area. Some things are hiding. Sometimes they hid with local families. Sometimes they interacted with local families. So I have a story about that. I was married once upon a time, and his family came from Russellville, and his grandfather, probably in the late 80s, was about 100. I mean, he was 90 to 100 years old. And he would say, when I was a child, my dad, we lived here in Russellville, my dad walked around with a side iron. Yeah. And he also would say that particular family, they were big into hiding moonshine from the revenue man. So during Prohibition. But he did tell a story of an aunt that he had who actually had a love affair with one of Jesse James's gang members. There in Russellville, because in Russellville in Pope County there's a lot of caves also, and he talked about how Jesse James had came through there, and that this part of that family had helped hide Jesse James and his gang. So, so this did happen. This did happen close. Jesse James was a lot of things, and we've Robin Hood him at the time and now, but the truth is he killed a lot of people, and he was actually an angry Confederate because they lost the war. So that's really who he was.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, he really was that. But you say Jesse James, and people think, oh, he was this. Yeah, not so much. But anyway, that's a whole nother story too. But if you've never known, Jesse James came through Arkansas and did rob people and kill people in Arkansas. He did. So right here in Hot Springs area in Bentonville in Northwest Arkansas. So I wanted to say that. Among popular verbal folklore forms, sometimes they're riddles, sometimes they're questions of things you just hear. Sometimes they're types of speech, like the man who said, "My hogs are so skinny, you'd have to put two of them together and make a shadow." Ozark has a lot of sayings like that you're not going to hear in Central Arkansas. Different things that people there understand. They have their own sort of speech, but what they do, they have Scotch and Irish descent. That's pretty much who came to the hills there and settled. So a lot of times when you have other cultures that came in, then a lot of folklore that people brought from Ireland, or they brought, because this Ozark Holler, there's stories like that in Europe. There's stories like that. Yeah, they brought their own culture here and made it Ozark, made it Arkansas. So a lot of different places have some of the same stories. And so one story that we have in Arkansas that's kind of something that people will hear a lot of places. And I apologize. People probably know more about this than I do. Like I said again, my assistant, she knew more about this than I did. But it's called La Llorona. Okay, and this is a Spanish word, and this is about a mother. This is supposed to be like a mother looking for her child, and there's different stories about this in all kinds of different cultures, in Spanish culture and all kinds of different cultures. But the one from Arkansas, let's talk about this ghost story. So on the old highway, Highway 30, there's a bridge outside of Scott that goes over Wolf Bayou. Okay. And a woman.
Well, they're by England, right?
Yes.
Scott in England.
Scott in England.
Right.
And okay. In that same area, before we talk about this woman, that same area, sometimes when it's very dark and, very lot of farmland, that kind of thing.
Right.
Kind of like drive here. But anyway, but it's very dark. And so sometimes when people drive down the road at night, they see a man without a head and he's looking for his head.
Right.
But there's not a really story that happened to his head. He's just looking for his head. But on that same stretch of road, you can get to this bridge. And this says the bridge is over Wolf Bayou, which is part of Faulkner Lake in Pulaski County, is what it says. So anyway, it says you stand on the bridge and yell 3 times, Mama Lou. You see how we took La Yolanda to Mama Lou? Mama Lou, come get me. If you say it 3 times, the ghost of the mother will drag this person into the lake, taking the person in there with her baby. So what happened was, in like 1938, a woman was driving in a car, and what she had done was she was having an affair with a married man, and she'd had a baby. And she either drove herself off this bridge or she had an accident, but her and the baby went off the bridge and both died in the car. And so it's been said that they can hear her weeping. It's been said if you're out there and you hollow this out, that you can hear the baby crying.
Oh, goodness.
And so this is just one of those places that people go to see local visitations of a spirit. But we don't know if she killed herself because the married man was not going to leave his wife or whatever, but the hearing of the crying. And so this, like I said, this is a very old story. This is not just an Arkansas story. And many times people told this story to their children, or a story of somewhat like this, because they wanted to keep children away from bodies of water. Don't go over there.
Ooh, okay.
That woman who cries and her baby cries, and she will drown you. So it's a way to scare children away from a bridge.
I was scared going over the Arkansas, Tennessee bridge.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, man! Every time I go over, like, and Brandon's like, "Look at that!" I'm like, I can't do nothing. Look at it, straight ahead. This diesel's going to hit me,
Yeah. But so this story built, of course. And so people say, yeah, I went out there and 3 of my friends got pulled underneath the water and they died. So these things didn't really happen, but it just keeps the story going.
Right.
Right. There's a friend, somebody asked me today, well, do you know about Woods and Lateral? And I was like, oh my goodness, how old am I? Woods and Lateral is a road out going towards Time Bluff area on the outskirts of Little Rock. And in 1985, when I was in high school, the thing was go out there and turn off all your lights and you'll see demons and all this kind of stuff. Well, now you go down Woods and Lateral and there's a whole bunch of nice houses and all kinds of stuff.
Oh.
So
oh goodness.
So it's not, the ghost stories have not really lived on, but people would go out there and do things like even animal sacrifices and stuff.
That's
so
horrible.
You'd see it.
That's horrible.
Yeah. And so that was Woods and Lateral. So teenagers always want to find something to do like that.
Right.
Always want to go somewhere to
Idle
see
hands.
that. Yes. And so, we didn't have no cell phones and we didn't even have good TV. So, we're doing that. So I have another story about a mama and a crying baby. This one is a story that is out. Okay, Drake Field Airport in Fayetteville. This is around that area. Okay, this happened. This did happen in 1930. A woman was at home alone with her baby, and her husband was out drinking. He came home drunk, and the baby had been crying because the baby was sick. So the baby had been crying all night. Well, the man got so mad at the baby, he took the baby out and threw the baby in the well.
Oh, goodness.
And the mother tried to get the baby up from the well by pulling the rope. Well, he cut the rope and he threw her in the well also.
Oh, goodness.
So the story is that you can hear her crying and the baby crying from the well where he killed them. And you can still hear that today on that property. So, yeah. That I kind of want to say this, too, about as I researched the Ozarks, and it seems very Little House on the Prairie, which I know people don't know what that is either. But, gosh, I feel so old. I made a reference to somebody the other day about Little House on the Prairie, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I'm old.
If they figure it out, they're going to be hooked on the show.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm so old. Anyway, but the hog killing and the raising the barn, all that seems very picturesque. Okay,
Right.
But here's some of the true facts. When you live in a holler, underneath a bluff, underneath a cliff, in the Ozark Mountains, in the Boston Mountains, and you don't have a neighbor for a mile away, what happens is domestic abuse.
Right.
What happens is a lot of domestic abuse with children and women, and people just disappeared. And there's stories of I was researching one story that was just really too complicated to bring to this setting at this time. Yeah. But the man had 2 children, and he killed his wife and buried her in the backyard in front of his children, and told his children, this was in the 1911, 1912, 1913, this all was happening in the Ozarks, and he told everyone, your mother left, your mother abandoned the family, but he actually killed her in front of them and buried them. And so when her family came looking for her, he said, oh no, she ran away. And he swore these kids to secrecy. Right. And what happened was, as they lived their whole life, the boy grew up, he was killed in World War II. The girl grew up, and her husband would say she has nightmares of being buried alive. Goodness. She has nightmares of hearing her mom scream from underneath the dirt.
That's horrible.
And so it was not, this was 1912, they believed she was killed. And it wasn't until 1952 till the grandson of this woman actually got a whole case opened, and they found her buried and found her body on this property. So, but it was, you didn't get in people's business but then, even if you thought there was domestic abuse, even if you thought there was a thing, the school teachers that said something's not right, that kind of stuff, but it was unneighborly to get in somebody's business. Yeah. You just didn't talk about it. Right. And even their housekeeper, they had a housekeeper, even the housekeeper didn't speak until she was on her deathbed. Because even if there was something not right with the family, you didn't talk about it. Right. And so that was the time of the cultures, but that was also the ruralness and the isolation of people. So, of course, people are killed. Of course, there's ghost stories. Of course, there's legends. You want to kill your wife, you can say the the Ozark Holler came and got her, Yeah,
that only goes so far. Back in the turn of the century, early 1900s, for World War I and all that, police, these rural communities didn't have a lot of big police force. Right. They'd have one sheriff or something, maybe, and a guy who helped them, maybe. Right. So they didn't investigate unless they actually knew something. Right. So, there's, I hate to say it like this, but there's good and bad with everything.
Yes.
It's good to be out there and remote and kind of peaceful, but there's also, like you said, there could be bad things happening too.
And her husband actually, had lost his mind. And he had told the children, if you tell anyone, I'll kill you too. Right. And so the ghost story that kind of went around that property, because eventually they did start asking questions about 1913 to 1915. They started asking questions. So he took the kids and left. So he abandoned the homestead. And so for years, people up until even the 1950s, 1960s, you drive up to this house and it said you could hear a woman weeping, and you could also hear somebody digging.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Because there's a whole lot of different things, and it's all documented now, but he obviously dug a root cellar and locked her in there first and then kept her there because the little girl who was only like 4, she told her teacher, there's a lady that screams through the floorboards.
Goodness gracious.
Well, that was her mama.
That would be horrible.
Yes. And then the little girl started drawing pictures in school of a woman under the ground and flowers on top of her. Well, these childhood drawings from the time she was 4 till the time she was 8, she kept. And when she died of cancer, her son, the lady's grandson, found them. And that's what opened the whole thing up again.
Oh, wow.
But teachers, had questioned him, why is your daughter drawing these macabre pictures, you know?
Right.
And why she's so... she would refer to the woman under the floorboards. She didn't call her mama, so
because she didn't know.
She didn't really know.
That's
and
horrible.
So no telling what crazy things this man did. But again, they were isolated.
Right.
And he was slowly poisoning her too, because well, I'm just getting too much into the story, but they found a diary where the lady had said, he makes me drink the stuff every night. It makes me really woozy. So he was poisoning her slowly too.
That's
so
horrible.
Again, you get the isolation,
right?
You know, so there's good and bad with all that. But let's go back to some ghost stories. So now here's some ghost stories. I'm going to give you bits and pieces of them, and they can be looked up. Let's talk about, this is another one that's a tall tale and a legend that every state has one. Okay. And when I say it, you'll go, I've heard it before. Everybody's heard it. A young man was driving through Arkansas on 365 south of Little Rock. He saw a young girl on the road and he offered to give her a lift. He draped her. Yes, I know.
I did a short film on this. It's on my channel.
Isn't this the thing?
It is.
And so he draped a coat over her shoulders because she was cold and she was soaked in the rain. Mm. He took her to her house, and he went up to knock on the door, and she stayed in the car. Mm-hmm. And the woman who answered the door said, "That's my daughter. She was killed several years ago."
Right.
And so he turned around and she was gone. Right. And later on, he went out to the cemetery and he found his jacket on the tombstone.
I made a short film about this a few years ago.
Oh, that's cool. I'd love to see that. But every state really has a story like that.
Right.
The hitchhiker.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's you're driving past the cemetery and there's a girl in a dress, or sometimes you're, a lot of times I've heard it told that a lot of times at high school football games, somebody will find somebody that says, "Oh, I need a ride," and then they're not really there.
Yeah, I think I called it a little bit different. It was like the girl in the pink dress is what I think I called it on my channel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was basically the same thing. That the legend or whatever I found is that they drove off a cliff, and this is where she died.
Oh yeah.
So when the guy was driving up the mountain, we actually filmed some of this in the village.
Oh, that's cool.
When he's driving up at night, she was in the middle of the road. Mm-hmm. So it's a real neat little film.
Well, and a lot of times, you know, rural cemeteries have all kinds of ghost stories connected with them all the time, because people go out there and look around, and actually that's kind of cool. I've done that myself. But you don't really see nothing. But I love cemeteries of any kind. I do hang out in cemeteries. I think they're very, very peaceful. I think they will get you. You can get out there and you can clear your head. Nope. I mean, seriously.
I don't mess with it.
But I don't see nothing. I've never seen nothing. Nothing's grabbed me or nothing like that. Okay, so let's get some ghost stories. Arkansas State Capitol. You all know what the Arkansas State Capitol is on Capitol Avenue. Right. That, of course, is our second state capitol. It was built. It was completed in 1911. And so on those grounds used to be the Arkansas State Penitentiary.
Right.
So as they were digging out the basement of the state capitol, they revealed a lot of rotten wooden coffins were unearthed, because they dug right over the cemetery where they had buried criminals. So that's what the basement was done. Plus, in 1932, there was a representative that somehow was crushed by the elevator in the south part of the Capitol. So in the Capitol building in 1932, that south side elevator sometimes goes up and down by itself. And people have heard cries and seen people in old-fashioned clothing down in the basement area of the state capitol. So, and yes, those grounds were the penitentiary grounds. So there really is stuff that's found there all the time. That was Arkansas's first state penitentiary, and they had farmland. I mean, they grew their own food. They had, of course, a cemetery, and really bad criminals were there, but not so bad criminals were there too, because there was nowhere else. That was it, And the houses that were built around there, which I deal with in my job every day, a lot of them were built for prison workers. So the little are railroad workers, because Union Station's right there too. So people either worked on the railroad or they worked. I'm sorry, my hat does not want to stay up.
It's not wanting to cooperate.
It's not wanting to. Hello, my head. They were either union workers. I mean, they were either railroad workers or they were. Worked at the prison guard, or some of them did work as domestics into some of the bigger houses that were built downtown Little Rock. Yeah. So when you go to downtown Little Rock and you see these big beautiful mansions, but then you see these little houses that sometimes have two front doors, because that's where the hired help lived. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's called capital zoning. Look it up. Hit me up. Say hi. Anyway, so that's state capitol. Inside of capital zoning, again, there's called the Empress of Little Rock. Have you ever heard about the Empress?
I don't think so.
The Empress is a gorgeous house.
Maybe a different version or something.
It still is a bed and breakfast, Airbnb now too, but it was originally built for the dwelling of a wealthy saloon keeper. His name was James H. Holbrook. I'm sorry, not Holbrook, Hornibrook. And it is called the Empress of Little Rock, and this has for a long time been a bed and breakfast. I mean, 30 years maybe, okay? Oh, wow. And so different, it has one of those tower rooms that's up in one of the towers, it's very Victorian. Okay. So there's a room that's completely round at the top. Oh, wow. And the lady used it as seance room. And so the lady who owned it at the time, years ago with the bed and breakfast, started it and had started having seances in that room.
Oh, wow.
Because it's a completely round room, and that's in Victorian homes, in the Victorian age of the United States, spiritualism and everything was very active, and a lot of people wanted to have seances and stuff like that after the Civil War, because they were trying to contact their person that had fell in the Civil War. Gotcha. So spiritualism, and I mean, Christians even did this. I mean, it wasn't looked upon as not a Christian thing. Mary Todd Lincoln did it in the White House, But so a lot of these Victorian homes that were built in the mid 1800s after the Civil War would have a spiritual room or would have a seance
I guess I never really realized that.
Mm-hmm. Like the Winchester House, you've heard of that house?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she had a seance room.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you know that she kept building because she was trying to keep the spirits away. Right. The Winchesters, but people that were killed with Winchester. So anyway, that's called the Empress of Little Rock. Look it up. It's beautiful, and it has its own. They believe that the shopkeeper haunts it, and so they've seen a man with a big bowler hat coming down the stairs, and he also has a cane, and they've also seen him down in the basement there. So it's a beautiful house even to today, though. Then we have Mount Holly Cemetery. Mount Holly Cemetery is located at Broadway and 12th Street in Little Rock. Mm-hmm. It is a cemetery. I think I've talked about it before because I love it. Mm-hmm. You can see it from the highway as you're going to Children's Hospital. Right. Mount Holly has several of our first governors and that kind of thing, but it's also rumored to be built on a native burial ground. Right. Okay. So the ghost stories are just running rapid, and people will say as they walk through there that they can hear, they can smell perfume sometimes. Sometimes they can smell cigar smoke or pipe smoke. There's a lot of Confederate Civil War soldiers in there, so it has been said that you would see the soldier wandering the ways of Mount Holly. Mount Holly is a unique cemetery to Arkansas because it is set up with street names and blocks like downtown Little Rock used to be laid out. I think I've told you that before. Right. And so...
which I still haven't been looking at it,
Yeah, so, but and another thing, too, is there around Arch Street and Broadway and 12th Street, there's been sightings for people that have houses like right across from the cemetery. Just a couple years ago, one lady looked out in her backyard and saw a gravestone. and called her husband, and her husband saw the gravestone, but by the time they got out there to take a picture of the gravestone, it had gone.
Oh, wow.
But so those kind of things happen. There's a famous story about, if you go there, Arch Street, before the highway was there,
right.
Okay, Arch Street ran through the cemetery, and now Arch Street runs up to the gate. And so anyway, it was a very Victorian thing to go spend the Sunday afternoon in the cemetery.
Right, yeah,
remember
we talked about that
Yeah,
on our first Little Rock
first
history
one.
thing,
So
right?
yeah, I'm going to tell that again just in case people didn't hear that. So what you would do was Sunday afternoons, you pack a picnic lunch, take your family out to your family grave, and you're kind of like having dinner with dead grandma kind of thing.
So
it was just very Victorian, and it was very much something people did. And so there was a family out there, and I don't have the names in front of me, but there was a family out there with their young daughter, and she had been kind of courted by a young man. And so they... As Arch Street was a street that ran right through the cemetery, there was graves on each side of it. This was in the late 1800s. Coming down the Arch Street in the cemetery, she sees this young man on horseback. And they holler out to him, and he waves at them. And she was like, why didn't he stop? Why didn't he stop to talk to me? And then like 2 days later, they came knocking on her door, and they said, hey, have you seen this guy? His first name was Robert. They said, have you seen him? And she said, well, yeah, we saw him Sunday afternoon, and he didn't stop and speak. And they said, no, you didn't see him Sunday afternoon. And she was like, yeah, we did. And they said, we found him. He had been kicked in the head by a horse, and he had been dead for at least almost a week when they found him.
Oh, goodness.
So he had been dead like 3 days when she saw him riding a horse through the cemetery.
That is crazy.
It was pretty creepy. Yeah. So, but she was like, this was the man she thought she was going to marry, that kind of thing. So anyway, Mount Holly has a whole bunch of different...
Little Rock has a whole history itself.
Oh, Little Rock, yes. Oh, yes. Then we've got, of course, Argenta Historical District. If you don't know, Argenta is downtown North Little Rock, and that is my specialty. So look up Haunted Arkansas Tours and come see me, take a walk with me, and we'll talk about all kinds of different places. But one story that I'll just tell you real quick is called the Argenta Race Riot, and it was in 1906. And it led to an African American being hung for a murder that he didn't commit, because he wasn't even in town when the murder was committed. He was actually testifying in a federal court case in another town that he had to take a train to go get to, and was on the sworn in and everything. Everybody knew he was there. Okay, well, there with the hat. Woo, oh Lord, he don't want me to talk about. Honey, I'm gonna be nice. Okay, I'm sorry, ghost, you're getting me. But anyway, he was convicted of killing a white guy. And so he was put into what is now the North Little Rock Historical Society is located in the old fire station. Well, at that time, it was the only, 1906, it was the only building in town that had anything, the police was there and the fire were there and everything. He was put in a cell in the back. But a white mob came in the middle of the night, broke in, took his body just within like 2 or 3 houses down. You can still see where it's at. There's actually a flagpole there now, but hung him, shot him, and killed him in the streets. And so that's the gist of the Argenta Race Riot of 1906. Yeah. So, however, that building, the North Little Rock Historical Society, it was a functioning firehouse till even the 1960s. And then it was part of the library system at once, and then now it is the North Little Rock Historical Society. That place is haunted as it can be. And, I mean, I love the place. I love the people who work there. I've been there a lot. I absolutely love it. But, yes, you can smell cigar smoke, and, yes, you can hear people talking.
No, sorry.
And it could be the firemen, or it could be the people that were in the jail. It could be all kinds of things. In fact, there was a lady that went for a meeting in the back room of this place one time, just a community meeting, and and didn't know the history of the place or anything, and got up and started quoting scriptures and said, I can't stay in this evil place, and ran out.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's been paranormal investigations there and that kind of thing. But anyway, so, come to our Jenna. We'll have all kinds of fun stories like that.
Yeah.
So then another ghostly legend, and I don't mean I may be taking too long, but of course there's the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs that you know a lot about, and you did a wonderful piece on that.
Thank you.
That if people don't know, they need to look up the Crescent Hotel.
Well, I'm thinking they'd probably get, honestly, more information from that Little Rock podcast we did, because that is really, that's wild. That's a wild podcast, and I think it's kind of hard to listen to, but it's factual stuff that did happen.
The Little Rock, what?
Well, we talked about the Ninth Street and where they, all that podcast we did. That was a dark podcast.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
That was a good podcast.
Yeah. Well,
it was good informational content.
Informational content.
Not everything that happened was good. It was not that.
Yeah.
Far from it.
There really is. I really seek to educate people. Yes, as I said, I love Arkansas, but Arkansas has had a hard road to hoe. Okay. We've had a lot of darkness in our government. We've had a lot of darkness in just, we're going to shoot you on the street and walk away. We've had a whole lot of different things that they've had to come through, because Arkansas was a lot wilder than people realized for a long time. And, I talk about in my tours how, it was after World War I when people in North Little Rock finally put house numbers on their houses.
Oh, goodness.
Can you imagine? Goodness. And so you send a letter to North Little Rock, and you've already gone to World War I, you're in the middle of the Spanish flu, and I want to send this letter to my mom, and she lives in that greenhouse that's right down from Mr. Jones, That's how it was happening. That's how it did. And Little Rock was that way, of course, 50 years before that, but they had put house numbers in. And so if North Little Rock and Little Rock had that problem, imagine the Ozarks.
Right.
They didn't want to, they thought it was big government telling them what their number of their house needed to be.
Right. You get shot coming over here.
Yeah. Don't tell us what the name of the street is. Right. And so people do not realize that Arkansas was way far behind a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't even be drafted into World War I because the nutritional value was so horrible in Arkansas that you couldn't find anybody healthy enough to.
I think it was still a young state too.
It was
one of the newer states,
and there was a lot. Again, the rule, and so that's where a lot of suspicions will come. A lot of things will happen that way.
I'll say this: I heard somebody's perspective on Arkansas and Louisiana, as they think the South, the old South, and this makes sense to me. The old South starts at Mississippi and then goes to like Alabama, maybe Georgia, and up to Tennessee, not Arkansas, not Louisiana, and that makes so much sense to me.
Yes.
But Louisiana is kind of its own place. So is Arkansas.
Yes.
But where does Arkansas fit in all that? I don't know.
But the Alabama and the Georgia gentry would look at Arkansas and go, excuse me, y'all were not us. Yes,
exactly.
They very much were not.
And Louisiana was, in my opinion, especially back then, was more French than. But Arkansas was like, what is Arkansas?
Arkansas was just a bunch of people that yes, we had slave owners, yes, we had some of that, but we didn't have a lot because these were poor people digging in the dirt trying to dig out. And I think if we had more money in Arkansas, like you had in Georgia, like you had in Louisiana and Virginia, if you had the bigger plantations that had the more money, then I think we would have lost a lot of the beauty of Arkansas.
Probably so.
Because they had little farms. They didn't take down a whole forest of trees to build their plantation. They didn't, I think we would have lost a lot of the beauty of Arkansas.
Right.
So
I bet you're right.
Yeah. So if you think about it that way too, I always want to say, I want to give honor to the brave men and women who came to Arkansas and came to a wilderness and dug and scraped and made this land for what it is. And so, there's a lot of good things that have come out of Arkansas. There's a lot of smart people that have come out of Arkansas and money. And, we got Walmart, good or bad, we got Tyson, it, and it went to the whole world. Yes, and Tyson, it feeds the whole world. And the rice feeds the whole world. So Arkansas is a big player for a small population.
Like you said, you you could more than likely fence us off and we'll be fine.
Yes, we'd be fine. We'd be fine. So, because we'd still have Walmart and y'all wouldn't. Ha ha. Anyway.
Walmart may not like that, but
Walmart may not like that, yes. Another one I'm going to quickly touch on is in Monticello.
I know where that is. Monticello.
Is it Monticello? Okay, Monticello, Drew County.
Yep.
Drew County. Okay. Is that where you grew up?
No, El Dorado. But Monticello is over there by Warren.
Okay. Well, there's a house that I've never been to, but I'd love to, and it's called the Allen House. It was built in 1905. You've heard about it?
Yes, I have. We were going to investigate that, but I think it's under new ownership now that isn't as friendly as the past ownership, I think.
I've heard something about that, yeah.
And that's okay. Everybody's got their right to what they want to do.
They do. And the story behind it all, though, is Joe Allen built it. He had a wife, and he had like 3 or 4 kids. And in 1917, one of his daughters hung her. Well, okay. Wait a minute. I said They said that there's still pictures of them hanging in the house. That I found that out. Yeah, that people kept a lot of their stuff. But, okay. So she did not hang herself. I'm sorry. She took some kind of poison. And by drinking this cyanide, she died. And so her mother sealed off the room from 1917 to 1986.
Holy cow.
Yes. And so went through a lot of different things. Somebody did hang themselves in there. I believe it's one of the, Mr. Allen hung himself. Somebody hung herself in the house too. No, her son. I'm sorry. One of the boys hung himself and the girl poisoned herself. So the mom just kind of went nuts because she had 2 children die there. And so anyway, but as it traditionally moved on, they broke it into apartments. Okay, so, but they still didn't open this door. From 1917 to 1986. They didn't open that area. Right. And so people who lived in the house, in the apartments, said they would hear noise coming from that room. And nobody had been in there. So,
goodness.
Yeah. And they said they'd see doors open and close. They'd see things float across the rooms. They would actually see a young girl and a young man as apparitions in the house. So it's supposed to be like one of the most haunted houses in Arkansas.
Right.
And so anyway, so whatever that's worth, just look that up and go check that out too.
Yeah.
So, how are we doing on time?
We're fine.
We're good. Fine, okay. Yeah. I got one more thing that I really want to tell people that I don't think another thing that people don't really know. There's a place called Mountain Village 1890 in Bull Shores. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Oh, you'd love it. Okay. I've been there one time. But the research of it is, so Bull Shores.
What's it close to?
Bull Shores is, there's a dam up there, and isn't it close to the, Bull Shores is up close to.
Is that northwest?
Bull Shores Lake and the White River, all that area up there,
gotcha. So, I've been to the White River.
Yes. So this is a place you can go, kind of like a tourist attraction, but the story behind it is amazing. When you go there, and it almost looks like an old-fashioned carnival when you pull up, and it says Mountain Village 1890. You walk in, and you walk into like a gift shop at first, and then the guide comes out and takes you to the grounds. Well, when this first started back in the 1960s, the person who started this, the only thing they really had to offer was there was an opening there as you walk down this stone staircase to a cave. Okay. So it was a cave that they tried to set up an attraction for people to come see the cave. Right. Okay. Which when I went, I saw the opening of the cave. There was lights down there, but I did not go because it was not that even big of an opening. Right. It really wasn't. And I was like, oh no, we're not going down there. But the people said there's, stalagmite or crystals.
There's stalagmites from the ground and tights from the ceiling.
And they had put, it's very much set up like a tourist attraction, but a tourist attraction from like the 1960s. So it's kind of retro. Yeah. But here's another thing they did. Through the years, they went around different places, not just Arkansas, but different places, and they bought buildings that were about to be demolished, and they brought them there, and they made a town. Okay. There's an old bank. That was actually a bank. There's an old doctor's office. There's an old general store you can go in and still has general store stuff sitting up there.
Wow.
There's 2 or 3 homes that have furnishings in them that belong to the families that had lived there. There's an old church. Okay. So all these buildings did not make up a town. Okay. But as they put them together, they called them the Mountain Village. So it's supposed to be very, very haunted because it brings the stuff from all the different areas. Like the people who built these log cabins and stuff, their belongings are still there. The bed's still there. Dishes are still that belong to the family. That kind of thing. And
is that like abandoned place somewhere? Like there's buildings and stuff, but
well, this is kept up. It's not really abandoned.
Yeah, but nobody lives in them.
Nobody lives in them. No,
right, but it's still. Yeah.
And what they do, I mean, if people would want to, you can pay to camp overnight in the middle of these buildings. There's there's there by the cave opening. Can you imagine? Not gonna do it.
Nope.
But unique things about these buildings is like the general store. Go into the general store and they say that a lot of things happen in there because they said the man that ran this general store in rural Arkansas for 30 years still haunts it. And there is still old-fashioned things on the shelves. There's a safe in there that looks like it was shot at or blown up, and somebody tried to rob the store and actually tried to blow up the safe, and the safe is still there.
Right.
There's a doctor's office that has the actual doctor's equipment that he used, like a rural doctor would use, and people have taken pictures of it. When they get it home, there's blood all over the instruments, and there's blood on the table and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So whatever. Yeah. And the houses,
not,
the houses, I would say, I call them log cabins. They're more like 1906, that kind of thing. They're plank houses, and some of them are even have newspaper on the walls. They used to use for insulation. So that's very interesting. The church is very interesting to me. I thought it was a very interesting place, but it's as a historic point of view, it's not historically accurate, of course, but if you're a school kid and you've never seen anything like that, right, it's a remarkable experience.
And it's up there by Bull Shoals?
By Bull Shoals, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and so again, it's called Mountain Valley or Mountain Village 1890. You can look it up too, and they have different events, and they have different stuff.
I think my wife and kids went up there one time because is that where like the caves are with the bats and you could do all kinds of stuff like?
Oh, I think that's the other cave. I think you're talking about the bigger cave. See, this is very little hole in the wall cave.
Okay, yeah, this is
Arkansas
different.
Has so many very little hole in the wall cave.
This is up there, but I can't remember.
Blanchard Caverns, Blanchard Springs,
Right.
Yeah, that's a big nice a nice area too.
Yeah.
Blanchard Springs is way up there in the Ozarks. In fact, some of that is in Missouri.
Right.
And one little tidbit I know about this, which is not really interesting, but I was born in St. Charles, outside of St. Louis, and 6 years ago, when I was turning 50, I went up there to run a 5K, and we went through Blanchard Park, because in St. Charles, Blanchard Park and Blanchard Springs runs right through the town. And I remember that my run that day was through that, and so Blanchard Springs goes all the way down to the cave and everything. So I mean, it's very connected, and it's another way of how Missouri and Arkansas are very connected.
They are.
They could be the same state very easily.
I don't know about this. I'll say this though. Like I said before, 49 North. When you get past Bella Vista, you're pretty much in Missouri.
Yeah.
It goes flat again.
It does until you get to areas up by St. Louis. There's a few more. There's a few more areas that way.
See, I don't like how Tennessee was basically flat until you get to outside of Nashville.
It was.
Wait a minute, hold on,
Yeah, I like Tennessee highways. I think they're better than Arkansas highways.
I'll say that too. I agree with that.
They're kept up
because as soon as you got in Arkansas, welcome to Arkansas, boom.
Yeah, you're like, oh, we're home. Yes, I know. I've drove to Atlanta many times, and I love going through. I love going through Tennessee. But anyway, like I said, we'd be here all night if I want to elaborate on every one of these stories.
Right.
But I hope I've given people a little bit. Go out there and find out for yourself.
Right.
And if somebody tells you a tall tale, look it up. We've got the internet now,
right.
And. I used to have to go to the library and open up an encyclopedia. You're going to have to Google that too. But we didn't have any of that. And I saw a funny picture the other day of women sitting around at a quilting bee. And a quilting bee, for all of you who don't know, is again when the community would come together and maybe somebody's getting married or somebody's setting up house or whatever. And all the women would bring their extra scraps and they would get together, and you might have 10 or 12 women hand knitting or hand crafting a quilt for a wedding bed or that kind of thing.
That'd be cool.
And it's what they call quilting bee, and they may do it once a week, and that kind of thing. They also got together and made jam together. They got together because there was communal living like that. But I saw this funny picture of this quilting bee, and of course I knew what it was, but it said the first text messages, and I was like, well, yeah, it was, because they were talking and they were gossiping, and so I do hope that everybody enjoys their fall Halloween season.
Right.
If you want to be terrified like one of these guys, they're having a bad day. Yeah. But if you want that's out there too. But if you just literally want to know the stories that people have said for generations and the legacies, then just go out there and explore yourself.
That's what I'm saying. Just
go to one of our state parks.
Get lost and you'll be found. I promise.
Yeah, go on one of these wonderful trails that Arkansas has. Wonderful trails.
They do.
Just, enjoy it and make your own memories, make your own tales. And if you want to come back and say you saw the Ozark Holler, well, I'll believe you. Tell me about it. I'll believe you. I'll tell your story.
I won't be so optimistic without a picture. But then again, video editing and photo editing,
right.
I don't believe nothing I see. If it's on a screen, I don't believe it.
That's right. I think I'd almost believe the person before I'd believe the picture.
Right.
But anyway, so I do appreciate this. This is wonderful. This is always great.
I'm glad you got to finally show up.
I love this. I brought my friends. No, I didn't really, but I'm just really getting comfortable with these folks.
Yeah.
But
they're I filmed with every one of those masks except for 2.
Oh.
So, and I don't plan on having any Halloween films coming out or anything anytime soon. So
okay.
They're just decorations, and I got more over there. I got so much junk, and I hate to call it junk, but being a historian, it's hard to watch these kind of things. It's hard to watch these, especially these modern horror films, because I like to say when I'm especially giving historical tours or something, truth is so much stronger than fiction. Oh yes.
The truth is you can't handle the truth of what really happened.
That kind of segues into the point you're making. Go if somebody says something, research it, find out why. This stuff comes from somewhere too.
Somewhere.
Leatherface was Ed Gein.
Yeah, legends and rumors. All of this
That's what I'm saying. All this stuff come from somewhere.
Yeah, and but go watch some of the older horror films and try to think, where'd they come up with this?
Right. Because every one of them have something that's from somewhere.
You want to dress up like Dracula? Go read the book Dracula. It's a love story as he looked for the love of his life.
Which was Bram Stoker's, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's not to break in your house and suck your blood. No. So tie literature into your quest, and you'll just be better for it. Yeah. And if you like being scared, if you like the thrill of the screaming, and I always say, don't come on my tours because I'm not going to have anybody chase you down the street with a chainsaw. Right. And if somebody does that, please run, because he's not part of script. Because I'm going to be running. Because when you're walking around at 9:00 in downtown North Little Rock, you got to stay together. But anyway, just enjoy your time with your family this fall, and don't try to. You don't have to make up anything, because the horror is real, and there's really things that are happening, and I do want to just say, let's be kind to each other.
Right.
Let's be kind.
Right.
Let's be kind. Let's be kind to each other. I don't have to agree with you. We don't have to agree on everything, but we're going to be kind because we're all on the same blue wall. You don't know what that other person's
going through.
No.
And you'd want that respect coming to you.
You don't know. So do not judge each other. Do not judge each other.
What's that old treat others how you want to be treated?
Exactly. I have a lot of friends that maybe my church friends would go, I can't believe you hang out with them. I don't care.
Right.
Because they're people, and they live their life, I live my life, but we can have a civil conversation. So let's keep conversations
the church is for,
open.
right?
Yeah.
The sinners.
The sinners, exactly.
Right. It's not for the perfect people.
It's not for perfect people, because if we're all perfect, we wouldn't need churches. Imagine that. But seriously, just remember to be kind, and if your first impulse is to get mad or upset, because I've had that. I have a very difficult real job, and I have to say things sometimes that people don't want to hear, and sometimes it's hard to walk away from that and go into public and turn that off. I mean, I'm just being honest, but I have been reminded, especially in the last probably 5 years at least, that we got to be kind to each other.
Right. It don't hurt nothing to
you don't.
Nice.
Nobody knows what anybody's going through.
Right.
And if they're doing something you don't like, don't do it. Don't look at them. Don't bother them.
My mom would say, if you don't have nothing nice to say, just be quiet.
Just be quiet. So
if you see me quiet, I don't have nothing nice to say.
Yes. And if somebody wants to talk, I mean, I'll talk about anything with anybody, but we can have a discussion. We just don't have to have an argument.
Correct.
And that's what it needs to be, because I'm not steering people away from not talking to each other either, because that is the only way we're going to make any progress is talk to people.
Our differences are actually similarities. So.
Yes. So anyway, I appreciate you, Stacey. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
and this was great, and I can't wait till next time.
I will be in touch. Thank you so much.
All right. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the SWADE Pro Show. See you guys on the next episode.